Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Change What We Normalize podcast, where we focus on changing norms and breaking stigmas through powerful conversations to elevate your mind, your thought patterns, your behaviors, so that you may live a life of purpose. And today I'm here with some very special guests for a very special and exclusive episode of the Change What We Normalize. I'm here with my brother, Ty Lewis, and the cast, as well as the director of his new, well, not even new, but it's like, you know, renamed,
rebranded,
rebirthed,
right?
Stage play, original stage play, Papa May Have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's fire. That's
We're excited. We're excited about that.
Come on, y'all. So, really quick, because I want to introduce everybody. So I have with me here, Arthur Taylor, the director. My man. We have Salima Davis, who's playing Aunt Angie. Mm-hmm. She be coming with the heat too. Oh, I can't wait.
Aunt Angie fire.
I can't wait. We have Daryl Thompson Jr., who's playing Timothy Sr. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have Isaiah, who's actually playing Mark.
That is I.
Oh, so I was Mark. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. We have Kenny Johnson, who's playing Andrew. And then last, but definitely not least, we have the other Isaiah R., who's playing Timothy Jr.
Yes, sir.
Yo, first and foremost, man, I want to say this. It's a pleasure, having y'all and having this opportunity. One, just to see the beautiful, like, Black excellence, first of all. Let's start there. But to know what this play means, right? To feel the substance behind it. I don't know if Ty actually shared with you all, but I was a part of the cast when we did this. How many years ago was that?
Probably about 5 now.
Yeah. So this was a minute ago, and I remember what it felt like that first time reading through the script and being like, oh my goodness, this is my uncle. This is this person. Oh, I know this person. Like, I felt this connection to it, and to see it just come back to life, but on a bigger platform, oh man, it's a beautiful thing, and on such a huge and monumental weekend. Right? That means so much to us. Like, that's so divine. Yeah. Definitely not an accident. So I'm super excited to just experience it. Like, I'm hyped. I'm low-key, like, I'm fanned out. I'm like, I'm sitting in the front. I'm hyped. I'm getting there early, get my seat. I'm going to come fresh just in case they ask for, like, a review or something. Like, all of that stuff. You already know how I'm coming, right? You already know how I'm coming. So I want to affirm all of you for, accepting the call to do this. And just give you your flowers for being a part of such a monumental project. And I believe that this is really just the beginning, because I see this on a larger scale, like Broadway. I see this being a movie. I see so many different things. So I want to give you all your flowers, right, while you can still smell them. So I want y'all to receive those. Absolutely. So what I want to do before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty, the serious stuff, have a little bit of fun. But first, I want to just do a quick mental health check-in. I think that's super important that we check in, because I don't want to assume that everybody's okay. Y'all are professionals, y'all are putting this work in, and it's not easy. It's not easy whatsoever, right? So I want to do a quick check just around the room, 1 through 10. How you feeling? I think that that's important. And for our audience, it really allows them to connect, to who you are and see how human you are, right? So we'll start right here, Arthur.
I got a 9.
Okay.
I said a 9.
Out the gate.
Out the gate. I love it.
I'm an educator, a school teacher, so we're coming to the end of the school year. So it's a lot that has happened. This school year is just unlike no other. We just lost somebody major, one of my staff members, and that literally happened on Friday. So that otherwise I'd be at a 10.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that, and definitely condolences for that individual. So let's keep it going. Salima?
I'm at about an 8.
About an 8?
Yeah. I'm actually in the show run of Hallelujah Baby, and I just came here from there. Yes. I have an audition tomorrow night, so I'm
Come
at
on,
about
come
8.
on. Talk about that. Come on. Put the work in.
Come on, work. Come on, booked.
Right. Booked and busy. Like you catch me when you catch me.
I'm on vacation for real work, so I'm
Right. All right, let's keep it going. Let's go for it, Daryl.
Right now.
Bring the mic up a little bit.
Oh, sorry, no problem. Right now, I'm at about a 6.5, but that's only because, yes, Salima and I are currently working on a production of Hallelujah Baby. It's my second show that I've directed this year, but it's like I've been in constant production since December of 2020. So my vessel is half
Right.
Negro is tired. But I'm mentally I'm fine. I'm just a little on the sleepy side. We good though.
Right. Now I hear that. Kenny, what's going on? How about you?
I say 8 when it averages out, right? I would say there's some areas where family members are sick, and then there's pressures. I'm the oldest male in my family, so providing, doing things for my mom, redoing her house, while taking care of my own household, while running the business, and all that other stuff. So that's what makes it an 8. But I believe I'm too blessed to be stressed, and I got the grace. So it goes from 8 to 10 real quick. But,
that's what I'm talking about.
When it gets to 5 or 6, I know I got to do something fast.
I appreciate that. Isaiah, where we at?
Brother, I'm at a 10. I just got baptized.
Hey!
So I'm lit.
Come on.
I'm feeling so good. The new man is here.
Come on. Old is gone.
Shout out to my church, Victory in Christ Christian Center.
Shout out.
Indeed.
That's love,
That's
man.
awesome,
That's
man.
love, yeah,
That's
man.
awesome.
That's huge.
Take me to the river.
Come on.
I'm still a little damp. I ain't gonna lie. I'm still a little damp. Yeah, man. It was like an hour and 30 minutes ago. I promise you, man.
Yeah.
Wow. That's man,
Like,
that's
how can
huge,
you
bro.
argue with somebody like, I'm gonna be late, but I'm getting baptized? I'm like,
It's like,
no
oh, I'm
problem.
sorry.
Do what you gotta do.
sorry.
I don't want no problems with God. I don't want no problems.
It's like a power.
He said, you know,
what
it's my
got to
fault.
Couldn't be mad at that.
No, that's
I got baptized at 16. That was my father's choice, but this was my choice.
Yes.
It's a little bit more.
it's a different.
More significant.
Yeah. You was intentional. You wasn't borrowing that faith. I love that. So let's keep it going, Isaiah. What's going on, man?
Yeah. I just left church, so I'm about
Come on, show
at a
them what you're saying
9.5. You know, just had some food. I'd be at a 10 if it wasn't so hot outside. So other than that, I can't complain. I'm blessed.
Right. Last but not least, Ty, what's going on?
Man, I'm at about a 9. And I think I'm at a 9, one, because like I'm sitting here and we're talking about this production and I have all these amazing people here. Like that is crazy. I think the only reason I'm probably not at a 10 is because it's a lot of nerves with that, because there's like a lot of expectation and people are like, remember the first cast and remember that show, and then so there's a lot riding on it, and it's on Juneteenth weekend, Father's Day weekend, like it's one night only, and it's Ty Lewis. It's like, you know what I mean? So if it's horrible, y'all can just go on about your life. Everybody's like, that Ty Lewis production wasn't that good. But no, so that's probably the only reason. But right. With Tyrone, I don't know. I don't think it was Ty Lewis exactly, but no. I am in great company. I mean, this is the first time we've actually got to come together. We've been on Zoom and things like that, and they've been opening their schedules up to meet the requirements of that and how unconventional that is. So I'm really, really grateful, and just hearing their talents via Zoom and just seeing some of their perform before on stage and different things like that, I just know this show is going to be amazing. It really, truly is. So I'm excited, you know what I mean, but got that little nervous there too. But naturally.
Naturally. I mean, the superstars have, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of nerves, but we push through. We push through. So let's really jump into it. And again, like I said, I'm so excited about this production because I remember being in it and what it did for me, but also what it did for the people who were in the audience. And we did it, several times from the small black box theater, which was crazy.
Right.
With the little theater,
That was a preview.
like props, not like we was going in and people was in there. But it was so freeing to so many people, and the conversations that were happening afterwards were powerful. And when I think of this production, right now that's being resurfaced, I think of 3 words. I think of black men healing. Like that's what I think of, and I feel that because it's so many different things. Like you said, it's Father's Day. Going to be around that time. It's going to be men in the building, and I feel like this is going to spark those necessary conversations to break generational curses. So to me, it's a lot deeper than, this is a dope stage production. Oh my gosh, the lights, the actors were incredible. I'm like, nah, this is like a real responsibility because people are coming in here broken. People are coming in here who've never had the conversations that they need to have with their son or with their brother or with their father, and you all have this opportunity to like really open that thing up. So that's extremely powerful to me. And I want to hear from you all, when you first read the script, right? When you first got the call, you got the script and you were able to kind of like digest it a little bit. how did it speak to you, or did it speak to you? I guess, right? And y'all can anybody can go, jump right in.
It goes there. Shout out to Degrassi. But I'm just saying, like, for this show, and I'm still working my way through the script, to be honest with you. But when we really came together on Zoom and we all got past, like, the intermission, and I remember thinking to myself, I said, what did you do, Isaiah? Because this is, like, it really goes there as far as, like, this is not a show where you can kind of, like, mail it in or piecemeal it in or just, like, maybe show up 50%. It's calling for you to dig deep, and you have to either go hard or go home, I think, because the level of emotion and the level of commitment that just this piece is asking of you and these characters are asking of you, just with my character, I'm just like, dang, these guys are really going through these things, and, you know, they still have to go on with their lives. And it's really emulating real people and real experiences. Right. So, you know, you can't be fake about that.
Yeah.
That's real.
And I remember our first reading on Zoom. I did a section for my character talking about how my dad never showed up for me, and that's real. And so as I'm doing it, tears are coming down my eyes, and I'm like, whoa, what's hold up, wait a second, right? And I think the reality is when I look at, you know, the character Andrew, I see that is who I could have become if I didn't have an outlet. Right? If I didn't have an outlet, that was me, right? My father has multiple children. He took care of everybody after me, right? And so when I'm around them, I'm finding my place and all this stuff. And so every aspect of it, I'm like, man, these are the type of people I did hang out with, but then decided to shift. And I'm like, man, this could have been me. And so it's almost like looking at the opposite of who I became. One, giving me gratitude, and two, saying, I also see how many of the guys who grew up where I grew up at stayed and got stuck. Yep. So.
Wow. Anybody else?
When I read through the notes, when I read my mind, when I read the script that I wrote, no, I was totally joking. I was just waiting for somebody else.
No. Hold on. For you, I want to ask it a little different because, like you said, you wrote the script.
Yeah.
So, explain to us the process of, because it's like having a baby.
Yeah.
The process of birthing the script, having it out, and then being able to nurture it more and really dig into it. Like, explain that to us.
It was an evolution for myself. Like I started writing this probably 12, 15 years ago. It was I was working as a counselor for a performing arts group, and it was just a skit, like a 2-page skit about 4 brothers. Literally, that's all it was that I literally wrote for the teenagers that I was working with, and they performed it. It was all good, and I'm like, this is a story. Like, you know what I mean? This is a whole story here. But mind you, I was at the tender age of 10. No, I'm joking. I was like, 19, 20, literally. And I wrote, and I'm like, and I started writing the show and things like that. But as I grew up, and experiences happened and things like that, the characters grew up and developed. Some years later, it's like I had an opportunity to do the show on stage and things like that with your cast. And at that point, I had tweaked the characters. They grew up. The stories changed. Anthony's story wasn't even Anthony's story in the original. Like, you know what I mean? So the experiences that I had throughout my life, affected the characters and their stories, you know what I mean? And then it became even more necessary as I learned, with the kids that I was mentoring and things like that, and I seen what they were dealing with. I'm like, oh my God, like their story needs to be told. And so then I would switch up a character because as a writer, I'm really for the underdog. I'm ready for the story that no one ever hears about, you know what I mean? But everyone's going through. So I'm like, I have to put this on stage. And so the characters would grow like that as I would, move on. So by the time we did it for the first time about 5 years ago, it had completely adapted. And it was under a different name, Jazz from the Tears, right? Which was just really too deep, right? I get into some whole reason why that name, it was just too deep. For me, it was personal, the title, you know what I mean? But I, just in my prayer time with God, I was just like, okay, God, I want this to appeal to a lot of other people than just myself. You know what I mean? I wanted to have a cultural appeal. I wanted to have a meaning behind it in a depth. And if I was following in the steps of the writers that I like, the playwrights that I love and adore, August Wilson and just countless others, then the title should do that. The title should be connected to us in some way. So I'm like, and I literally one day I'm like listening to songs, listening to things. 'Cause I get moved by music and things like that. And God Bless the Child was on. And I'm like, oh my God, Papa may have. Like, that is so this story. Like, you know what I mean? And I said that, and my spirit just agreed with it. And then now we're here with a whole new title and a whole name. And biblically, y'all, now I'm about to go there. When, God changes names, you know what I mean? It's a rebirth, is redefining this whole story now. And then to have a brand new cast, it's all purposeful, it's all on time, and it's a set-up appointment, as the church folks say. You know what I mean? And so that's what I feel right now, and that's what I'm excited about, because before it was such a move. It was such a powerful effect on the audiences and people who came to see it. And I'm like, I know it's going to be a whole new wind on this thing now, just because of the new name, because of the amazing talent that's a part of it now, the space that we're in, the direction that we have now. I think it's just all lined up to be amazing. And so the writing changed as I grew up, as I experienced other people's stories and things like that. It was a necessity. Literally, every character was a necessity to be seen and heard and represented in this show. And so that was the evolution of the writing process for me.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Sure.
I'm thinking about the challenges we had years ago. we had some challenges.
Grassroots.
We had some challenges. Yeah, call them out. No, I'm joking. I'll call them out.
Well, it was,
But I'm thinking about the times where it's like you may have wanted to quit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I can only imagine, like, man, if that would have happened, we wouldn't be getting this rebirth.
Yeah.
Right. So I thank you for sharing that. And Arthur, you as, the director of this, really seeing from a different lens, what are you grasping from this? What is really speaking to you as you go through this script, as you're working with these incredible actors, as you're working alongside Ty?
Well, I got a chance to see, I think, the second production that you guys did in the church. I was there with Phyllis, and I looked at the piece from a critical view, but I also noticed, again, the stories that just popped out and got you, and now having read the script and just seeing some incredible, I'm blowing Ty's head up like every day that he's there, because the writing, I love words, and I love the way that words can open up a whole new universe, for a long time. And so one of the things that I told to the cast the other day, I said to them the other day, was that because I've always carried this with me, you have to be careful how you allow people to mourn. Mourning is something that is essential, and everybody does it in their own unique way. And what happens is we think that we are supposed to tell somebody how to mourn, how we're to receive their mourning, and what have you like that. But you don't know really how that person is mourning until they let you into that world. And here we have all of these stories of folks who are dealing with their father's death. And it's not like this is their dad. And each of them, because they had a unique relationship with him, their mourning is going to be unique also. And I shared an experience with myself and the cast. I shared with them when my real father passed away, because I was a foster child from the age of 5 until I graduated from college. When my real dad died, he died my sophomore year in college. 2 weeks before he passed, which I didn't even know that was going to happen, it was unexpected, he had this breakdown conversation with me where he just burst into tears. And I had never seen my dad like this before. The most emotion I'd seen him with is anger, And he burst into tears about how proud he was of me. And it's like he could see what was going to happen in the future for me before I could. And I'm standing there kind of numb, like, oh, my God, what's going on now? And when we get to the funeral, my brothers and sisters took his death a lot differently than I did. I had closure that 2 weeks, and he told me what he needed me to know. And so I carried that experience into this production as well, and with the characters and everything that they are experiencing. And again, the writing. The one thing that stood out to me in the last rehearsal was there was a line about pulling weeds from the stones. And I told Ty, oh my God, that is so beautiful. That could have been the name of the show. Weeds, because the dad was teaching them how to pull the weeds from the stones. And so that for me is very important. Getting that story out and making sure everybody understands that there are different ways of mourning.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody grasps that, right? Because actually we were together not too long ago listening to Kendrick Lamar, and he started off talking about that, like, I grieve different. Yeah. And just thinking about people and how they grieve. So as we think about the character specifically, his sons, as you guys are going through the script, does it feel like the sons get any closure prior to the end of the script? Or is it kind of like we didn't get closure and now I'm trying to figure out how to grieve? Like, what were some things y'all noticed specifically from the sons?
I remember we was talking about in rehearsal the other day how Timothy Jr. had kind of already found what his piece was, dealing with the whole event with his father passing. He had a chance to experience who his dad really was after, they had all got treated differently, by the father. One person had this type of, anger, this type of grievance, this type of hate. And Timothy really just had a totally different understanding of his father. And that's, kind of why he took it differently. And we were just talking about how, like, Timothy's arc is really just trying to bring his brothers, and he's the youngest, which is kind of crazy that he's the youngest that can do, and he can do this. He's really trying to bring his brothers on the other side of that mountain where he is. Because he was on that other side where he was just angry and asking so many questions and nothing was settled. But then he had the opportunity, he found God, or, God was already with him. We had talked about that, how much, ministry meant to Timothy. He had used God to just bring him to the other side of that mountain. And that's what really got him closure. So for him, his arc is just now bringing the rest of his brothers with him. And I found, again, with the writing, that was just really beautiful, something that we found. So yeah, that's just, how I've been, like, looking into things, how I've just dove into it as far as, how am I dealing with, as the character, how am I dealing with my father's death?
I think it's too late. I don't think my character got any closure. As far as where I'm at in the script, I can tell you that he's got my character is a leader, and he is the oldest brother, so he's got to be a certain way around his brothers, opposed to how he is behind closed doors with his own family. So with that being said, I think that there are definite issues that were not addressed and sometimes spill over. Sometimes there's like a small chink in his armor, and then he Febrezes it away, if you will. He'll squeegee it out, but there's a specific part in the play where he expresses himself, and I don't even think he means to go in that deep, but he's just, how we in a way just drift, and sometimes it's just that authentic drift, and it doesn't matter who's in the room. When it comes out, it comes out. So I think he was just in his truth, and it happened to be around his brothers. So
I think every brother found an outlet that dictated how they get their closure, right? So, for Timothy Jr., his outlet was his faith, and so he got his closure that way, which is probably the best outlet, right? Mark is in leadership and family, where he found his outlet. Anthony was in his career, even though he didn't love it. And for me, it was the streets and drinking and drugging. And so what you plug into kind of dictates how you operate. And so, the pain never goes away if you have the wrong source. And so, I feel like mine is still open. I feel like toward the end of the play, I make progress with my brothers. but I'm still not settled with my father. And so it started a conversation, and they're still here so we can fix it, but he's gone. And so I got to live with it.
Which is the truth I believe that I wanted to get to. Like, everything is not patched up. It's not like, a half an hour sitcom where, it's all patched up and the nice music plays at the end and all that stuff. It doesn't just happen like that for everybody. I wanted to center this around conversations. So sometimes it's just about the conversation being started. Sometimes it's just about approaching the idea of healing. Sometimes that is the curse breaker. You know what I mean? Is being the first person to take the step toward the conversation and not so much being so focused on the bow at the end.
Right, the happy ending.
I need him to get to this point.
It's
I need
like,
him to get. Can we talk about something they never wanted to talk about before? How about let's just start there?
Right. Let's not breeze over that.
Okay.
Let's actually leave it here so we force you to talk.
Right. That's a victory that we got to this conversation, that we're actually opening the door to that. Let's stay in that territory. And so I didn't want to put a bow on everybody at the end, and then he lived happily ever after.
Yeah,
no, he didn't. And that's because, seriously, and it's because of sometimes we're not paying attention to the opportunity to correct it in the right time before somebody leaves us. That's what, you know what I mean? It's like their brothers are having this conversation at their father's wake.
Right.
Why didn't they have it prior to?
Well, the genius in the writing also is that it certainly lives up to what we know African American theater. The onus is always on the black male, and just like in white theater, the onus is always on the white woman. In African American theater, the onus is on the black man. And so here we have a play with several black men and their stories, with the father story, being the most prominent. But what has happened here is we get a chance to see that these brothers have come together, and attention must be paid. Take that from Death of a Salesman. I also take that from Raising in the Sun. Attention must be paid. And that means that we have to focus our energies in this given time, in this production, and what it is that we're doing on these separate stories. And even, regressing into the dad's story and seeing the conversation between him and the sister, attention has to be paid. And so how we receive that, and whether it comes to a conclusion or not, the bottom line is that attention must be paid.
Must be paid. I love that. And as I'm thinking about it, so often, especially for us, we want to get to, like you said, the happy ending, but we don't want to long suffer. You know what I mean? People don't want to sit there and long suffer and just sit in that. I might give him run the lap. He said people don't want to sit in that. And I think that the way that this is structured, and I don't want to leak anything because we need y'all to still pull up for sure. But it's going to just really spark those, because it's always going to be like, oh, well, what if this happened? Well, what if, oh my goodness. And it's going to leave you to that point where you have to be forced to have this conversation. So you talked a little bit about reflecting and how the play goes back in time with Aunt Angie and with you as well, Timothy Sr. I want to talk a little bit about that dynamic, because that plays such a huge role in how the men turn out and the conversations and the back and forths that you both have. So looking at it from that lens, right, leading up to, eventually you transitioning, passing away, how does the raising of these boys, and we'll start with you, Timothy C, and then we'll jump right into you, Angie. How does that impact you as the father, right? Because you notice certain things in each and every one of them. Specifically one, we're not going to leak it. But there's some things that you notice. Does it make you, as the character, I know I'm going deep, does it make you question how you raise these boys? Like, do you feel like you lived with regrets?
So,
being the character.
Full disclosure, I haven't gotten to the entire play yet.
Okay.
So, I guess I've been working on another show. We literally just opened, so I hadn't really got a chance to dig into it. Right. But what's fascinating is that I lost my father back in 2015. And the conversation that we're having is very similar to how the fallout was after he passed away. There are, I have siblings, and we all had a different relationship with him. And nothing negative, really. Well, I say nothing negative. Not going into too many deep conversations because, folks are still alive. So
They might see this.
They're listening.
In respecting people's privacy. But it is an interesting thing to look at what happens when you're gone. And to the idea of how you raise people or how you were in someone's life, how they receive what you gave them, and how they look back at how they receive what you gave them and what they did with that. And a lot of it is environment, how it was nurtured, and it was interesting. It's interesting to hear this and read some of the story because I relate a lot to it. Being the oldest sibling, well, the second oldest sibling, but technically the oldest sibling, and looking at how it has impacted our family and how we relate to each other, and the time that it's been now since he's passed. Very much to the conversation that everyone grieves differently, but sometimes if Daddy always used to say, it's okay to mourn, but if you grieve like there's no tomorrow, you also have to take responsibility for the fact that there's a possibility that you also did not do right by that person. So there's where you can always focus and place blame someplace else. A relationship is always two ways.
Always.
Amen.
That's
the truth.
That's a different perspective.
that's
I didn't
true.
think about.
No, because my dad would say, well, he would just say real. Oh, I'm sorry. My dad would say it a whole different way, but basically to the fact that you always knew the one who didn't treat that person that left right.
Oh,
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're the one carrying on. They're the one crying the loudest or rolling down the aisle. Or, they're the one that want a piece of dad's shirt.
Right.
They want dad's tie. They trying to jump in a hole.
Right.
It's all of that
They look
extra.
about the
You know what I
coffin
mean?
and care.
Or they're really about who get what and all that other stuff. And it's 5 of us all together, all of my siblings, and we've had those conversations just because we made it very important for us to, get things in order ahead of time, because we've seen families that had to put up the GoFundMe, no shade, no tree, but I mean everybody's situation is different, but we didn't want that for our family, So, we had those serious conversations, and we just made up in our mind that listen, I don't want anything. When I don't care what at that end, when our parents are no longer here, we just want to love on each other. We just want to be in that space. So how do we prepare for that now? And that's having conversations, being good with mom and dad now, all that stuff. And I think that's what a lesson is in all of this, in this conversation and the story. It's what are we doing now so we don't have to have ugliness later? You know what I mean? And that's for our culture. That's necessary to talk
crucial.
about it ahead of time.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? So we're not fighting at each other trying to get the wigs and the hair and
Right.
the suit jacket later.
But that's critical to have those
Right.
conversations now, so we don't have to make these tough decisions and have this tension later. It's what are we waiting for? You know what I mean? We always make this assumption as if, I'm not gonna say we, but people make this assumption that God owes us more time. I'll get it right next week with my pop. It's you just gonna play God out in these streets and say he gonna be here next week.
And then God's like, well, guess what? Now you don't. Bye.
Goodbye. He said, you know what? Game over.
Control, Alt, delete.
You thought you was going to do what your will was when my plan's already in place. So
Right,
that's not
right.
what's going to happen. We're going to pull that fader back and let's see what happens.
Right. It's
I don't know about anybody else, but that's what scares me to get it right. The fact that I'm not
Right.
in control, because I could be all the way pissed at whoever in the family, right?
I'm saying,
but
bro.
it's okay, I got to get over this, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what phone call I'm going to get, and I don't want my last conversation to be a negative one with this
That's
person.
gonna tear you
Literally,
up.
that is the thing that makes me get it together.
I will throw this in here, kind of a personal anecdote. So my father became a minister later in life. He was a diabetic. He had kidney failure, the whole nine. And once he got really sick and he wasn't working, he was constantly in the Word, and it was one of his goals before he had passed. That was the one thing he wanted to do, and literally he had got his license not maybe a month prior to him passing. And but I say all that to go back. Growing up, he and I had a myriad of spats and difficulties between the two of us. It's hard for a while because we were always two sides of the same coin. And I carry his name. So there was a lot of things that he expected out of me, and there was a lot of him that I did not want to see in me for a long time. When I got older and we started having conversations through the Word and through different things, we reconnected our bond, and life was wonderful. I'll never forget the last time I saw him. Out here doing theater, running around the streets, and my brother and I were working on a show together, and it was 12 o'clock. We went and got Crown Fried Chicken, sat down in the living room. It was midnight. He's like, I got my trial sermon on my first sermon on Sunday. I'm out here just working on it. He's out here working, and he was like, you know what? I just want to let y'all know I'm proud of y'all. And I'm like, thanks, man. He's like, no, I want y'all to know, like, y'all good boys. Y'all good men. And we just kind of laughed it up, and he told us about his sermon and whatnot. And after, so he's like, well, it's time. And I'm go ahead and lay down because I got to get up in the morning. He was having surgery the next day. And he got up and he walked upstairs, and I never saw him after that. But again, not going into long stories, but it was such after the journey that he and I had together through life, and again, through the pieces that I read through this, it's something to say, again, you can mourn, but I think I mourned when he left because I wanted to learn more from him. I didn't need anything from him. I just wanted to learn. There was a lot of growing that we both did on both sides. And I think that's the thing that I miss. That's what I would love. But what's crazy now, later on, is that as we progressed, the thing that he did when building legacy, which impacted all of us after he left, was the Word. And he laid the foundation for almost like Martin Luther King's, like, I may not get there with you.
Right.
We were secure when he left. We had the foundation to know that we were going to be okay and who to trust once I'm gone.
I love that. So, really quick, because I want to acknowledge, you're playing Aunt Angie, who is a powerhouse, in my opinion, who is the glue to like all of this. Like when it's falling to crap, she's there as this strong, amazing Black woman, but also who is someone who's mourning as well. To see that, and you being the only, female character in this entire production, do you feel a sense of responsibility in regards to the role that women play in all of this and keeping the family together? And if so, what does that look like?
Absolutely. I am not the oldest, but I am the oldest of a set. So I'm I say 7 because I grew up with cousins that are my sisters. So I have one brother, everybody else is girls. So although I may not know a lot about men and growing up, and because I wasn't used to growing up with men, I understand the responsibility in a big family. So I have 3 older siblings. They're all within a year of each other. It's like 6 years and it's me. Then I have somebody 8 years younger, 1 year younger, 8 years younger, 12 years younger, and then my niece who gets lumped in there. So yeah, it's a big family. It's a big responsibility. And so I resonated with that. Okay, I still live at home with my family. I'm the oldest in the house. I try to take as much responsibility as I can. And so, to know that, all right, brother's not doing great. let me see what I can do to help to reach out. Sometimes, even just in our household, my mom will talk to me or one of my sisters and say, hey, I can't say this to so-and-so, but maybe if you say it, it'll be in a different light and you'll understand it differently. Or even if that is just talking to, oh, I don't understand why so-and-so is acting this way. Well, maybe that's because you're not seeing it this way. I always think, and I'm someone without kids, but I always think that when you take the responsibility of being a parent, you need to be prepared for whatever your child comes out to be. And so if you're not, but of course, the case may be you may end up in this situation, then you have to take the next step talking to people to try to understand who your kids can be to help them best, because I think as a parent or even as a person that watches over younger people, a guardian, you want to do what's best for the person that is younger that needs a little bit more guidance.
Right. And I'm thinking of Angie specifically, and I'm thinking about the women who are going to be in this audience, right? Because women love coming out. They're going to be in here. They're going to be in here Father's Day, Mother's Day, all of it. But I'm thinking of the women who are currently in that position that she's in, or that she was in the play, where they are that glue. I feel like your role is super important because it's going to be affirming to them.
Yes.
That everything's going to work itself out. Like God got you.
Yes.
Because there were times where, she had to flip out on you and, she had to hold it down for y'all and all types of stuff while also battling her own challenges and anxieties. And that is like the narrative for so many Black women out here.
Yes.
And they still have to show up.
Yes.
Right? So it's this responsibility, and I don't want to put that burden on you, but it's like a responsibility that you have with that role.
It wasn't a burden that you put on me. It was a burden I was born into. Being the Black woman, you have to be the strong Black woman. You can't always show weakness. You can't always be, as delicate a flower. And I'm a delicate flower. I'm emotional. And I get you, like I said, I grew up with all girls. So like I am the, emotional one to them. But I also always say, I think everybody is emotional, just like grief. Everybody shows it differently. I show mine outwardly, I cry, etc. Some people just, get angry. It's like, oh, you're upset, get quiet. Everybody shows things differently. But yeah, we pull the family together as women, as Black women in every situation. But that's also kind of cool because we're super women.
Right. Y'all popping. That's a word. But also at the same time, what I love too, is that you get the opportunity to show, like, I don't always got to be superwoman either. Like, you get to show those, and I'm so excited for that part because, again, that's going to be reaffirming. Like, I know I'm going to get my mom to come, and that's going to be super just reaffirming to her. Like, yo, you don't always have to be, like, I know this is who you are. We claim you're a superwoman, but the reality is you are a woman, you're a human. You can also break down as well, and I think that's powerful. You want to say something, Tom?
I do, just because that Aunt Angie character is so important, and I'm so excited for you to dive into that role. I remember as I was going through the writing process saying there needs to be somebody that's fighting for these boys, because the dad was going through so much in the script. There needs to be somebody who's going to be like, listen, that knows dad, and as she says in the script, like, I basically had a hand in raising you, talking, she's the older sister to Timothy Jr. So, I needed there to be an example of someone fighting, because that is so true. Whenever there's an underdog or someone feels like I'm ostracized, I'm thrown away, I'm rejected, if you would just open your eyes to who God sets up in your life to be an advocate for you, there is somebody there, and that speaks to people who have these suicidal ideations that are depressed, filled with anxiety, feel left out. It's like, if you just open your eyes, if you just look around, there's someone that's going to fight for you. And one of my mantras is that love speaks up. So I don't care what the conflict looks like. Whatever conflict you can foresee, love speaks up, and I feel like Aunt Angie represents that. She's like, I know my brother. I know this Negro. I know he's about to argue me down. I know he's about to be real tough, but I got to speak up for these boys, because he's not perfect, and he's running around here wanting these boys to be whatever certain type of way, but I got to call him to the carpet real quick. And she does that with such grace, such culture, such, in our way that we can hear, because a black woman knows how to speak to a black man better than anybody in the world. Because you're gonna speak to our hurt while you're trying to correct us, and that's what she does. She's like, she has empathy with him while she's cussing him out, and that's beautiful.
But that's what a sibling is for. That's what a sibling is for, because who else do you grow up have the same experience, same upbringing, maybe not the same exact experience, but you may, like I said, you may understand why a person feels X, Y, and Z because you saw it happen too, but it's two sides to every story.
Right. Oh, yeah, please.
One thing that's real interesting about the Aunt Angie character, I said earlier, like, my older sister and me, my dad wasn't around. He was in prison most of that time, but took care of everybody else. Well, I guess a couple years ago, we were just walking through South Philly, where he's from, and he decided to give me a backstory of why he wasn't around for me. And one of the things he said was, you always idolized me. And so you would replicate what I was, and I wasn't proud of what I was. And he says, of all my children, you had the strongest mother, so you didn't need me as much. And I never looked at it from that light, but because my mother was a strong woman, he's like, yeah, my son is going to make me his hero, and he's going to emulate everything that I don't want out of him. And his mom is strong enough to handle it, fair or not fair, but you know what? I got to step up for the kids whose mother's not there anymore. But for you, I know you'll be okay. And so it was weird because he would like brag about me to people. And I'm like, man, where are you? Right. But it was because my mother was like an Aunt Angie type character where she would hold it down no matter what, that he felt like, look, I'm in good hands, the same way that our dad in the play could deal with his stuff because Aunt Angie was going to hold it down no matter what. So, yeah.
I'll throw a different spin on, again. It kind of takes us into a different direction of conversation, but I feel like, and not to get off the subject, but like a lot of this, and for us generationally, it all has to do with communication.
Yes.
We do not communicate effectively amongst ourselves. And father to son, mother to daughter, mother to son, all of it. Superwoman, black woman, but Superman, black man. But the image of us is that we all have to be strong because we won't survive otherwise. And if we're not communicating how we truly feel, that's where all the disconnect happens. Right.
I think we forget that superheroes have a alter ego. Like Clark Kent exists.
Not only do they have an alter ego, but they also have a weakness.
Yes.
They are still human at their core. They have something the things that make them, that keep them up at night. So in Angie holding it down, she can tell her brother whatever she does. We knew how we grew up, but brother needs to take responsibility for him too. I said at a friend's wedding, I said, the most important thing in any marriage is that you got to communicate. The moment you stop communicating, the walls, that fine wall that y'all done plastered together, is going to crack. And as soon as it cracks, if you don't start talking, it all falls apart. And that happens everywhere. We see it in society today. We see it in our jobs. We see it in our own homes. No sooner than we stop communicating, you get what happens between these three boys. Because I'm talking to you one way, I'm talking to you a different way, I'm talking to you this way, and no one knows what I'm thinking. All I know is that I just need y'all to do what I say. Mm-hmm. But we're not talking about how you really feel, or what you really need, or why I don't see you. Had you known, if we were able to have that conversation, all right, I might have a different respect for you, man. Right. But I'm glad you told me, but don't tell me when I'm older. I needed that when I was 6.
Absolutely.
It's also another half of it, which I'm finding growing up, is understanding that your parents are people.
Amen.
Come on.
Amen.
Come on.
And another amen.
Understanding your parents are people, and understanding that they may have started with raising you in their late 20s and now, like I said, big gaps. I've watched my parents progress and be better parents to my younger siblings, and I'm happy for that. I truly am. But sometimes there are things where I'm like, I felt that way as well. But I didn't know how to express myself, and you didn't know how to talk to me, and but I'm appreciative that they are able to grow, and that's such a nice thing to see as an adult. See your parents adult and grow.
Yeah,
because it's a balance, and I believe we all are products or grew up or know people who grew up with the whole stay in a child's place type of thing. But it's like, when do I get to be human? When do I get to have actual feelings and a reaction to how you treat me? Like, you know what I mean? At what point does that matter? Like, you know what I mean? And I think
you don't, at 6, you're not allowed to be annoyed.
You know what I mean? So it's just that balance of like, okay, I need you to stay to the left because you're getting a little grown with your words or whatever. But there's it's a special thing when you can like really take a child through their thoughts and help them compartmentalize how they're feeling and things like that in a way that they understand or whatever and feel heard too. I think that's what this new talk is all about, as far as like communication with a child, and what we were talking about, like emotional fluency and things like that. Is like, we have to teach the young people how to have these conversations. We have to show vulnerability. Like, I believe is the crux of what you were saying. Like, for the dad is like, okay, let me show my sons where I'm weak at. Let's talk about that, and maybe they can relate to me, and maybe then they can do what I say because they listen to me from a place of empathy and understanding, you know what I mean, versus just authority. He said do it. That's it. And there's no substance beyond that. You know what I mean? So it's communication, it's the conversation and the teaching, and just back to Aunt Angie's character is the nurturing. I think that was missing from the brothers, from the dad. It was no nurturing, you know what I mean? Or was there? But like, you know what I mean? Clearly she was there to be the one to like try to buffer, you know what I mean? And provide some type of cushion for humanity within them, like, you know.
Yeah, I just wanted to know from Ty, and he can kind of express this. What was Dad's upbringing like? What was his father like?
Come on here.
Right, because we get it, but this is the great thing. See, this is why I love Mr. Taylor, because he will like make you go there. Okay, so if I thought the father's background, I believe that his father was not there, just gone. Like he had no example, you know what I mean, whatsoever. So it was easier to fall into traps. For him, he has issues with drinking and things like that, and I believe it was easier for him to do that because when you don't have that first affirmation, you're looking from it somewhere. So maybe he found it in the friends that were doing those things that led him down a path of darkness. You know what I mean? Maybe he found it in the women that he led on to womanize. You know what I mean? So it's like I believe he didn't have it. When you don't have that blueprint of what this life looks like, you know what I mean? You fall for anything that looks like security and comfort.
Yeah, but see, I beg to differ.
Okay.
I beg to differ because I beg to differ because something in his life made him stay with his sons.
Oh, come on. This is character development for those who don't know.
Whereas we can look at possibly the fact that his dad, maybe something in his life said, I'm never going to do that to my kids. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I may leave them. What was I thinking? Yes, I had and then here I am back. Mm-hmm. Right. But something in his life had to attract him to say, no matter what, I'm holding this family together. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. My wife has passed away. I got to do the best that I can. Each one of them needs something different from me. And maybe I didn't get that from my dad, or maybe he did.
Mm-hmm. Like Troy.
Right.
They didn't like each other.
Right.
But he had a responsibility to his kids.
Right. He made that clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then also in the script, the father speaks, and the sons even speak of how their dad raised them to be kings.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
obviously he had a vision for what he wanted his sons
Yeah.
to be.
Yes.
And he had a standard there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he would correct them when they would say the
Yes.
N-word and things like that.
Right,
so
right.
he had a standard.
Yes.
He had his shortcomings, but he had a standard.
Absolutely.
And a vision for his sons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wanted that. That I know I
Yeah.
was absolutely intentional
Yeah.
with it. And the fact that he did stay. He didn't give his sons to Aunt Angie.
Right.
He said, "No, I'm gonna be here.
Right.
I'm gonna show up drunk. I'm
Right.
gonna be here."
right.
Of course you can.
What I can say in hindsight as a father, when you don't have a father around, you either choose to replicate what he did or do the exact opposite.
Right.
And so I know I'm a very involved father because I'm giving my kids what I never got.
Right.
So when you didn't have a template, sometimes you say, I have to be the template, and then you look around. But the downside of that is your faults you can justify by saying, I did more than my dad did. And so the challenge is when you didn't have a template, you still need to find models that can check you on your fatherhood, you know, because I had to surround myself as I became a father with other good fathers so we can bounce ideas off each other. And I can see when I'm tripping and just saying, well, my dad never did it for me. What's the problem?
Excuse, right,
And,
right.
yeah, and so I could see the dad being either way. I could see his dad not being there and him saying, you know what, I'm going to do something different. But now that I'm going through all this stuff and my wife is not there, even if I don't handle my responsibility the same way, I still did more than my dad did.
Right. Still one up. Still one up. So
Shout out to the mentors. I'm sorry.
no,
Real quick, shout out to the
Yeah.
mentors. Shout out to the dads. Just shout out to the men who aren't afraid to pour in.
Facts,
Yeah,
man.
for
Fill
sure.
the gap. I love that. Fill the gap. So, as we start to, land the plane a little bit, I want to ask, Ty, what's the takeaway that you want people to really gather from this production? Like when they leave out of these doors, we know they're going to have different conversations depending on your household, of course. But what's that one takeaway that you want really, you want people to really grasp from this production?
I want them to take away the idea that it's possible to love unconditionally.
There's always something left to love.
Yes, come on, Mom. From Raising in the Sun. Yes, but that's the truth. There's always something left to love. You can't throw nobody away. That's another thing. It's to love unconditionally and don't throw anybody away because you don't understand their life, who they are, their lifestyle, their background, their religion, whatever the case may be. No one has the right to throw anybody away.
No, I might not throw nobody away, but I might put them on the front porch for a day. You want to out here pull over, I'll see you on Sunday.
Right. Here's what I say. Without at least approaching the conversation.
Right.
How do you okay, you have an alt with me or you dislike something, so I can just walk around that or throw you to the side because I just off of that fact alone. Or did we have a conversation? Did we come to agreement that we weren't going to see eye to eye, so it's best that we part or whatever? Or did you just judge first and then walk away? Mm-hmm. So it's love unconditionally, approach the conversation, and don't throw anybany away.
I love that. So, really quickly, how can everybody get in contact with each of you? And we'll actually start with you, Arthur. We'll work our way around.
Okay, so I'm pretty much a Facebook guy. I do have a Instagram, but I honestly don't check it too often. Catch me on Facebook, Arthur Leo Taylor. That's where I am.
Okay. All right.
I'm on Instagram most of the time. Facebook is my full name, but my Instagram and I believe my Twitter handles are both I Dream of Ema 222.
Okay. All right.
I'm on Twitter as DSpenceLove82 and Daryl Thompson Jr. on Facebook. I believe I'm on TikTok too. If anyone wants to be on there too, but yeah.
So I'm like Arthur. I have Instagram. I don't know how to check it. So I just see when somebody like it. I'm like, I guess I press the heart and I start liking my own stuff. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to respond. But on Facebook and Instagram, I have the same name, Kenneth Kenneth E Johnson MBA, like the degree, Kenneth E Johnson MBA.
Okay.
What's Good South Jersey? Hashtag What's Good South Jersey. You can reach me at Instagram, What's Good with Isaiah, or follow South Jersey's Instagram page, or Isaiah.Shoel. That's just my acting page. You see all my headshots up there. And I'm just out here serving South Jersey, for sure.
All right. I'm in.
You know, I thought you was giving a shout out to South Jersey.
Shout out South Jersey.
South Jersey right now.
Right, South Jersey. Good. Yo, what's your hand?
Shout out Gloucester County, Cumberland County, Camden County,
All the counties.
Atlantic County,
Shout out Cumberland County. For sure.
Wildwood,
What's good?
Cape May, Ocean City,
Like the DJ at the club.
Atlantic County. Oh,
Egg Harbor. I love you. Okay.
all of them.
You can find me on Instagram at _Isaiah_Robinson for spelling. Check your Bible. It's the same Isaiah. ISAIAH.
Spelling, yep.
Same one for you, right?
Amen, yes.
ISAIAH.
Old Testament, all day.
Check your Bible. Check your Bible. You can also find me on Facebook. Not really on there, but Isaiah Robinson. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, on Instagram, you can find me at art_by_Ty Lewis. Again, it's art_by_Ty Lewis. On Facebook, it's Ty Lewis, or you can catch me on my website at artbytylewis.com.
Perfect. Right,
Thank you.
right. Fireworks. So really quick, Ty, how can people get the tickets?
Okay, so you can go right to the website. Well, this is where Danielle is supposed to come in.
Right,
the
right,
producer.
right.
Look, wait, I have two more things to say. All right, Danielle, the website, right?
I didn't know she was back there.
Roadcompany.org, huh?
The website.
What's the website? Roadcompany.com.
Roadcompany.com.
Roadcompany.com to get the tickets. Go right
Road.
in the mic, Dan. This is our producer.
Hi, roadcompany.com, www.ROAD, like road, company, COMPANY.com, COM.
Right. Right.
Well, you know our people got creative spellers.
Right.
Now you gotta do it.
Right. So briefly,
ROADE.
Yes. So
Q is silent.
Right.
no, okay. So briefly, Danielle came to see the show when we first did it years back, and she was like, Ty, as soon as I get a chance, I'm putting it on the stage. All right. So here we are now. Danielle was like, Ty, we got to do your show for Juneteenth. And I'm like, what? Like, of course. Like, come on. Wow. So thank you to Danielle for being true to your word, and to the Road Company, the Grand Theater, the Road Company, home of the Road Company. Right. I have been my full self at this theater. I have sung and danced and acted on the stage. I have had my art in the gallery. So this is a full circle moment for myself. Wow. I'm really honored to be on the stage again with my own production. That's a huge honor and no small feat. And then also, this performance is dedicated to my dear friend, Miss Phyllis Hawkins, who has been a mentor of mine and is a person who is the first person to put her money on my, you know what I mean, and invest in me, you know, and that's that speaks volumes as well. So I had to do this in her honor and just dedicate this performance, and I'm so glad it's with this amazing cast, with this amazing theater and this company. So I'm grateful and thank you all.
Wow. Thank you. So, well, really quick, while you're here, just share a little bit about your role in all of this.
I don't have a role. No. So I actually got to watch this show like really evolve because you first started with me at my studio in Lindenwold. He did like a black box type, and me and my husband actually like sang some songs in between, and it was really cool. And it was a vibe. I think that was fun. And I was obsessed with the show then. I'm big on what's the word? Minimalistic things, right? I like stuff to have a big meaning, but not need a whole bunch of stuff to do it. Right. Probably because I'm short, so I just feel like, but I have a lot to offer, but people will go past me because I'm little, so. I watched it from there, and then I saw you take it to the stage, and I remember just being, probably a little bit crazy obsessed with it just a little bit. So when we came time to do Juneteenth last year, it was our first ever Juneteenth Arts Festival here in Williamstown, and it was a huge success. I did not think it was going to be as successful, and I did not think they were going to ask me to do it again. With all the events that happened in 2020, I got offered this position as the director of diversity and inclusion, which it was not a position, so then I pretty much created a position, and I'm still creating it. Hopefully someone will, come in and step in that one day. But they were like, here, you've been at this theater for over 10 years. I was already on the board, and they were like, we're going to give you this position. And they were like, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, I want to do a Juneteenth Arts Festival. So they were like, sure. And the president of this company here, she has her own business. They funded the entire project last year with a huge budget. And didn't ask any questions, just were like, do it. Whatever you want, we are here, we're behind you. And we had classes and workshops, and it was a long day, and it was a lot. And we ended with an awesome performance with the cast of Dreamgirls. And it was just really, really impactful. And people still, message me about how much fun they had in that. And so in talking to my team for this year, I said, I don't want to do as much work, but I want it to still be impactful. I'm trying to build up a Juneteenth audience. That's the goal. So the next couple of years is trying different things, seeing what works before we bring it outside. Right. I'm hoping by the 5th year it'll be a big festival outside, and it'll be all the things that I want it to be. So we were like, we wanted to focus this year specifically on highlighting the Black local artists, it was cool to highlight Lorraine Hansberry, and I love her, August Wilson, and all these people, but it's so much that people are doing locally that we don't highlight. We don't highlight the next August Wilson, we don't highlight the next Lorraine Hansberry, we just do their works. And immediately I was like, okay, we're gonna do Ty's show. And they were like, do you know if you can do it? Did you ask? And I was like, it doesn't matter. I will find the script, even if he doesn't want to do it. And I sent Ty, as well as another young lady, I sent them a text because we were gonna do it for 3 days. And I said, Ty, I really want you to do this. Think about it. And I'm like all nervous, right? Because y'all know Ty, he's super busy. He got a lot going on. And I sent it to someone else as well. And the other person got back to me immediately and was like, I can't. I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work out. I just talked up this show. And immediately, I saw the little bubbles in the message. And Ty was like, yes. Great. He was like, let me think about it. Yes. And I was like, yes. And so it's just been organically happening and moving. So I'm super excited because it's the kickoff of our Juneteenth Arts Fest and our celebration. And what better way? So the whole thing this year is to honor Black artists, right? And it was funny because our Diagonal team chose each of our recipients of the award ceremony that's happening the next day. And we all chose a Black man. And we were like, now, should we do this? I'm a Black woman. I should want to be like, yes, Black woman, yeah. But we were like, our men in the last couple of years have gotten so much disrespect and so just disregard of their lives. And I'm a boy mom. I have one son, and I am big on you are a Black man and you will do great things and nobody's gonna tell you you can't. And we were like, should we change it? Should we get somebody else? And we were like, no, we're gonna honor these 3 Black men. And it just kind of worked that this show is about these Black men who go through brotherhood and friendship and family. So it's all kind of working together. So Friday night, we're going to produce this show. Super excited about it. I'm super excited. Tickets are selling very fast, so you might want to go get your ticket. But they're selling faster than I thought they would. And then on Saturday, we're having an arts reception. Ty's one of the featured artists, so we'll have some of his work out and all over the theater. We're highlighting Black chefs, Black musicians, Black singers, dancers. We have a Black ballerina, a Black opera singer, a harpist, a violinist. We have a lot. Just highlighting the arts in Black culture. And we're honoring 3 very different Black men, one being our director here, Arthur Leo Taylor. We're honoring Rashad Malik Davis, who is an author and a book illustrator, and the work that he does with kids is just, wow, it's mind-blowing. And then Quentin Green, who is a folk artist, painter, and again, very, very distinct. And the one thing that matched all of these honorees is they all said the same thing. I don't know if they all knew this, but at different times of me talking to them, they said, art saved my life. Had I not been able to perform, had I not been able to draw, had I not been able to paint, I wouldn't be here. And that gave me chills to know that art is still saving the lives of people. And then you all are inspiring that next generation. So I often say this quote, and I said it last year for Juneteenth, and I'm sure I'll say it 1,000 times, is today we celebrate, but tomorrow we get back to work. So I want to celebrate today. I want to celebrate on Juneteenth. I want to celebrate our freedom, but we have so much more to do. So we celebrate, and then we get back to work. So I'm hoping when people leave this weekend, that's what they leave with. I'm celebrating. I'm glad to be a Black person, but I got to get back to work.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So, now that was a word.
Came from the back of the room.
All right. We appreciate you. So, in closing, Ty, just two last things. So, as always, I have my guests on the show bring a quote with them. You know, I'm a big quote person. I live by quotes. The quote that you brought that kind of just encompasses the entire show, the production, the feel of what you want, came from Ms. Nina Simone, and it says, "It's our duty as artists to reflect the time." I want you to expand on that real quick.
All right, so any platform that I believe we as artists have, we should reflect what's going on in our community and in our culture. We should reflect what's necessary, what's needed. We should have difficult conversations. We should present that before our community so that it could lead to resolve and healing and deliverance and release and evolution, eventually, you know what I mean? So I believe, we have a responsibility. It's great that we're gifted and talented, but if we keep it tucked under us, we're not doing it justice, you know what I mean? And with us actively using our talent, then our living won't be in vain.
I love that. Wow. All right, so last question for all of you. We're going to make it a quick, brief, lightning round, and then we'll wrap it up with a little quick prayer. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, so last question is, the name of the show is Change What We Normalize. This show, the name, the whole thing was birthed out of me. It was birthed out of frustration. I can go deeper into the story, but I won't today. But I know that phrase, that quote, it means something different to everybody else. So I want to ask you all, and Ty, we'll actually start with you, and we'll work our way here with you. Last author, I want to ask you, and again, it's really brief, what does change what we normalize mean to you?
To me, change what we normalize means to get out of your comfort zone. In short, just get out of your comfort zone, because on the other side of that is your next open door, your next opportunity, and possibly your healing. You know what I mean? So just get out of your comfort zone.
Change what we normalize. Find empathy. Stop yourself. Stop being so headstrong or thinking that you know everything. Just find some empathy, trying to see, okay, what's really going on? What's the bigger picture? How can I step outside of myself and just look down and see everything that's going on? Because as we see in the show, everybody has a reason for who they are, what they are. Everybody has, an environment that makes them. So, just find some empathy.
Be kinder to yourself. Change what you normalize. When someone gives you a compliment, actually receive it. And don't say, oh, well, I was okay. No, you were actually good. Live in that, because there will be times when you have to work on things. So take small wins, and don't be afraid to, receive love. Normalize that.
Change what we normalize. I would say, one, change prejudgment. Everybody has a backstory that got them to be who they are, just like you do. And so change that. And then the second thing is we got to change responding in toxic natures, right? We got to learn how to have appropriate outlets so we can grow and we can get better and not responding in toxic natures.
I say change what we normalize. Live in truth and be true, because we live in a world full of falsehoods, and we can't progress forward unless we are dealing with the reality of things and facts. I wrote a quote down once because I write things every now and again, and it said, speak true so that you'll be remembered, live true so that you'll never be forgotten.
Change what we normalize. You guys had some awesome
Right. The follow.
To the point where I'm like, oh, you got one. I was thinking of that. I think just in general, just living, as Daryl just said, living in your truth, it's okay to be different. Like, it's okay not to be in a cookie cutter. I am Black and I also listen to rap and I can dance. I am just Black of all the things I learned, but I love musical theater and, destigmatize that. We can be our best selves even if we are not what everybody thinks that you're supposed to be.
When I hear that statement, change what we normalize, the first thing I think about is the artists, because they're constantly changing things. People have normalized so many things, and that's why we find ourselves in the hell that we're in now. Mm-hmm. People have forgotten to look toward the artists. The artists are the ones that change the world. There's not a thing in this room that was not affected by an artist. As artists, it is our goal and our mission to change the world. When Hitler first took power, the first people we got rid of was the artists, because we're the ones that change people's minds.
Amen.
We're the ones that make people think about the direction that they're headed in. And it's because we have turned our back on some of these artists, or we have bastardized what it is that they do. We have leaned it all towards money and income and finances, that we find ourselves in the position that we're in now. But those artists are on the rise. As African Americans, we're in this constant cipher of creation. We never stop creating. We discard sometimes to our own detriment. And as a result of that, we are constantly changing things. The next new thing is always around the corner for us. It is already being created. It's just a matter of us finding it. So changing what we normalize, for me, speaks directly to what the artist's goal and mission is every day. Wow. In particular, Black artists.
Wow. That's a drop the mic moment.
Right?
So, again, y'all, I just want to say thank you. One, for your time, for your energy, your effort that you're putting into this, because I know what this is going to do for so many individuals who will see this now, who may see it later, who may see, I don't know if you're going to put it on a recording at some point, who may see it at another theater, but I know that this has substance that's going to change people's lives. Like you said, the art, it can change the world, right? And that's resistance. You know what I mean? That art is really resistance. So y'all are literally out here just resisting against the status quo and pushing against it. Like, we're not about to follow these regulations and rules. We try and get free. Right. And we're going to push against that. And I want to applaud you again just for doing that, because it's incredible, and it's incredible. So before I pray, as always, look, I want to make sure that y'all tap in with us. Make sure you subscribe, share, leave a review, send this to somebody you love. Make sure that you follow these incredible artists, the director, Ty. Follow these individuals. We'll make sure to put all of the information in the show notes. Also, make sure that you get 3 tickets, not 1. Don't be corny. Look, this your boy. Get 3. Get 1 for yourself, somebody you love, and get this for somebody who needs to be here. You heard the conversation and how potent and how strong it was. And you know how necessary it is that we have these conversations and we further them. So make sure, if you are local, if you're in New Jersey, if you're in Philly, if you're in Delaware, even if you further, like, get here and stop playing around. Because you need to be here, you need to be in this space, and I'm hoping to see you in the building. It's going down. So really quick, y'all, as always for the show, I like to pray over the guests, send y'all out with some blessings. So I want to jump right into that. Dear Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather, to fellowship, to do things really that our ancestors couldn't do, honestly. We have a responsibility, Lord, to show up in excellence. And I pray that as these individuals, these amazing individuals, show up in excellence, that you will meet them on the way to do what you do, to make sure that this is holy ground, that the people who walk in this place are impacted. They may not even know what it is. They may not know what that feeling is, but we know that it's you. And I pray that throughout the rehearsals, throughout the night of the show, that you would use everyone in this space to bring about a message that is powerful, that causes conversation, that changes generations, and that brings you glory. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for this time that we are in, to be the change, to be the answer. And I thank you for each and every one of these individuals for answering the call to lead and to step up and to be bold in a time where we are being discarded, in a time where we are being disrespected, in a time where we are being looked out on. These individuals are stepping up and being bold and being trailblazers and stepping in the fight and marching forward. So I thank you, I honor you, I praise you. I pray that everything will go well. And I'm excited to be in the building. I pray that we would pack this house out. I pray that there wouldn't be any room anywhere in this space, that people be fighting to get in this place, Lord. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. So that is another episode of the Change What We Normalize podcast. Until next time, I love y'all. Peace. No, I'm stuck.